it also surfaced in the study of Dr. Ignacio that Filipinos are actually capable of laughing, okay, at the events. It's not laughing for the fun of it, but laughing because they just want to lighten the heavy feelings, okay, and hope and optimism and a sense of gratitude. You'd hear words such as, "Salamat at buhay pa ako. I'm thankful that I am alive." Okay. Seeking information, understanding what really happened and how these things have happened. We were in Ginsaogon 2 years after, 2 years after the event, and we were saddened to find out that the orphans there were miseducated on the reason for the landslide. It turned out that there were people who told them na makasalanan yung barangay nyo. Okay, so the barangay was considered as a Sodom and Gomorrah of the place. Opo, so, and because of that, you're punished by God, and the landslide happened. So there was no electricity in the place when we went there. We really had to look for at least one computer shop to search in the internet and then show them pictures that there was rampant illegal logging in the place, and that was I don't think that's a major fact. I don't think that's a major factor, but it was it, sir. Okay, so after that, they did not feel better, of course. They felt more sad, more depressed, okay, but it helped in the understanding, okay, and because of that, they resolved that this will not happen again to them, okay, and problem solving, and because we're Filipinos, the studies of De Guzman and Adviento also went into looking into the resourcefulness of Filipinos and then being able to adapt to nature. And we also resort to recreation. So in resettlement areas, you will see people singing together as a group. At night, one would get his guitar and then start playing. Okay, in Ginsaogon also, we saw, kasi people from the orphans were put in schools. Our schools were built, there were dormitories provided for them during weekdays. Food is free, everything is free, but during weekends they have to go back to their houses. So GK built houses for them. But the truth is, they did not have food. So we were able to catch a particular scenario when they were in the middle of the GK compound and they were cooking. So we asked, "What are you cooking?" They put in all their canned goods, so sardines, corned beef, so that the others who do not have food will be able to eat as well. So that's when we learned that you can put in pechay pala with sardines, talong with sardines. So they had this creative way of feeding themselves, okay, during weekends, okay? And of course, there's always a belief that they will be able to get through this, okay? But despite all these strategies which are inherent in us, in the study of Dr. Karandang again, there were still negative coping behaviors observed in people such as withdrawal and then suppression of feelings, not being able to verbalize how they really feel, and because of this, more PTSD symptoms surfaced, like depression. Some had suicidal thoughts. There was still a lot of blaming. There were still a lot of pent-up anger, and it resulted in the disruption of families because there were also a lot of quarrels at home, etc. And so, and aside from that, survivors were still reporting physical and somatic reactions like not being able to sleep, problems in eating, etc. And so, the need for a more concrete and more structured MHPSS. So that's mental health and psychosocial support services. So this is based on the IASC guidelines. So the most of the population after disaster would, not most, but everybody will be needing basic services. Okay, food, shelter. So the first ones to be on the ground are the sectors on food, health, etc. That's why we psychologists would react if people would immediately call on us and ask us to go and provide PFA. We would decline at first because we wanted the frontliners to do their assessment first, provide what is needed at the moment, and that's when things become a little organized, that's when we can go to people and begin our interventions. Now, a smaller group of people will need community and family support like burial services, mourning and healing ceremonies, and when these are provided to them in their grief experiences, at least they are being helped. And a smaller group again would be needing a more focused, specialized services. And this is when psychological first aid enter the scene, and other programs towards resilience, capability building, etc. And just a very small portion of the population, it is said, would be needing more specialized services coming from professionals like psychologists and psychiatrists. So the truth of the matter is, the population will be needing basic services and community support. So just to show you the phases of psychosocial recovery, okay, so at the onset of the critical event, at the onset of the emergency, that is when these interventions may be given. Okay, so that's when we give PFA. So PFA is given only within 3 months at the onset or after the critical event. A longer time, of course, is spent for long-term recovery. So this is when we introduce specialized programs. This is when we begin partnering with other agencies to be able to deliver our services. I'm happy to tell you, I don't know if there are people here who were with us in the harmonization of training manuals for MHPSS. There has been an effort by the DOH with the help of the Save the Children to harmonize training manuals for MHPSS. So we avoid going in different groups and then dealing with survivors on a staggered basis and then asking them again and again how they are, because that would bring more damage actually than help. Okay. So let me share with you our experiences in providing PFA in the community. In the past, there was the tendency to provide CISD, critical incident stress debriefing, but there have been studies showing that it's really not helpful to relieve the trauma in the survivors, to ask them again and again how they experienced the volcanic eruption, what happened during the flood, when the mindset is, the mind of the person is starting to cope and move on, and then people come to the area, to the ground again. Some will be doing their research and ask them again, what did you do? What happened at that night? What were the sounds that you heard, etc., etc. So it's true, it's relieving the trauma. So PFA is non-intrusive. We just allow individuals to share or to say what they want to say. So it's not anymore digging up on their sad experiences. And so it's found to be more humane. So that after talking to a particular individual, the individual experiences relief rather than being pained again and being hurt again because of the stories that he or she has to share. So the PFA is grounded on these core principles. One is a sense of safety. It must promote a sense of safety. It also promotes calming on the part of the survivors. It should be able to promote sense of self and community efficacy in the long run, and then a sense of connectedness and instilling hope. And there are 8 core actions based on these 5 core principles. Okay, so when you do PFA, it is important that at the start we establish connection with individuals, so we don't appear intrusive. Filipinas would usually say, "Kumusta po kayo? Okay, how are you? How are you feeling right now?" Okay. Rapport is also built during the first core action. And then immediately we check on their feelings of safety and comfort. So we check on feelings of uneasiness. We check on how have you been sleeping? Nakakatulog na ba kayo? Is food provided for you here? Do you get enough sleep? Do you get enough food? Etc. Along that level. And when people begin to share more, apart from what it is that you ask, then it's alright, no? Just listen. Now, if people need to be stabilized, to be calm, there's also an activity that we introduce. We are promoters of mindfulness, so we introduce mindfulness in the process. And the fourth is gathering information, not about the experience, okay, but what it is that is happening to you now. So it is more on the here and now, looking at what are you experiencing now, where are you at now after the disaster, okay, instead of going back to the experience. And then we also ask about the needs that they still have, like in one of the evacuation centers, there was a request that sana the toilets are well lit, because it turned out that there was a little girl who was also abused there, because it's a few meters away from the location. And this kind of practical assistance, which also helps in the healing process. Okay, and then we make them see the support system that they have. We try to check on that. If feelings become heavy, who do you go to? Sino yung pwede mo makausap? Okay, and if there is none, we make sure to connect them with social support. In the LGUs, usually, there's a community leader that they go to. In the barangays, it would usually be a barangay kagawad or a barangay counselor. And of course, we do not leave by checking on their coping strategies and then sharing some more, providing them actually with some arsenal of how else can you cope, especially when we see that some are not really coping very well. Okay, and if there are additional services needed, we begin to connect them now with the other agencies. So that's how we do PFA. Okay. And because we train people in providing PFA, We tell them that our role is we look, we listen, and we link people to services. Okay, now PFA is usually done on an individual level, but because of the collectivist nature of Filipinos, we have attempted to do it on a group setting, and we have been doing this already. But this is the study done by Dr. Regina Hechanova and the team, trying to see, we would like to be evidence-based in our approaches, so trying to see how group-based interventions are also working with mindfulness interventions. So I will share with you the activities that they did for the different groups after Typhoon Haiyan. So first, we would usually begin with assessment. So you can't go to the area, we can't go to the ground without getting assessments from the different groups. Because not all people would be needing PFA. Not all people will tell you that they're not okay. Some people would be more particular about the place that they're staying right now. They would be more particular about other family members who are coping as well. They would be more particular about going back to their work or going back to their houses because they still have stuff left there. Okay, so check on the need for interventions. And for that particular study, we use the PSS, post-traumatic stress symptom scale, to be able to check on the stress levels of the individuals. And the scores were not announced so that people will not be threatened or intimidated when they go to the groups. And then immediately there was a mindfulness training. We've been getting positive feedbacks about our mindfulness activity, so that anywhere we go in our training would also equip our trainees a bit about mindfulness. So this would now address the core action of promoting a sense of calm and stabilization for survivors. So this is just to add a very basic step on being mindful and being aware of their breath. Because when they become particular of how they breathe, it actually promotes a sense of relaxation. And they become in touch with themselves and start to set aside first all the stressors in the environment. Okay? But part of what we do is to also make them see the stress reactions. Okay? Allow them to recognize that there are tension, they're feeling tense, that there are negative feelings that they experience. But at the end, we emphasize that we have the capacity to let go, not to allow this to dwell on us, because elaborating on it or allowing them to remain in us could actually escalate the experience of stress. Okay. And because we have to be, PFA can be nuanced against one's culture, we would put them in groups again and then ask them, kumusta? Okay? Now, the observation was, when people are asked how they are and they begin to share a bit of their feelings, this would normalize anxiety reactions. When at first, before they went to the group, you would see some stress reactions, some are jittery, okay, some would obviously appear uncomfortable being with other people. But after the mindfulness activity and then after checking on the feelings, some would appear more calm and relaxed. Okay? And here also, it was important for the team to check on the positive coping strategies of the participants, and affirm those. Okay, affirm those so that we promote self-efficacy. And we go into the psychoeducation on stress and coping. So this is promoting self-efficacy through information on coping. Because a lot actually would not realize that the little things that they do are actually coping mechanisms in and of themselves. Like, I was able to chance upon a lolo, a grandfather who was fixing his tricycle, and then he said, "Eto, wala nang pag-asa, sira na yung tricycle ko." But I showed him, pero ngayon po nagkukumpuni kayo, inaayos nyo. And then he said, "Yeah, but this will not work anymore." Okay? And I had to ask again, is there no chance that if you put them all together, it's going to work again? And sabi niya, pwede naman. Okay? And that's when he realized that he was actually doing something. Okay? A mother of 7 children who lost her husband said that, I cannot live anymore. Okay? Hindi ko na kayang mabuhay. Okay? But right then at the moment, she was fixing her kids, she was preparing food, while I was just asking her how she was. And then I had to mirror to her. Pero sa kabila po ng lahat, nakakayanan nyo pa rin asikasuhin yung mga anak nyo. Okay, and the face lit up. Okay, and that's when she realized, oo nga, may mga anak pa ako. Okay? And there are those who really cope negatively, like a mother who lost her infant to the landslide flood in Remy because she was holding on to a pipe, and then the eldest was able to go up to the ground, and then the daughter was holding on to her legs, and she was holding on to her baby, and she was in a dilemma of how to bring them all to the ground, and it just, according to her, it just happened so spontaneously. She had to let go of the baby and then pull up the daughter. Okay. When she went back to she was already in the ground. A lot of people were asking her, bakit? Pinatay mo yung anak mo. So there was a lot of blaming. Okay. And when we were able to talk to her, and we just said, siguro po kasi nung panahon na yon, at the time, it was the only thing that, struck your mind. There was no blaming, there was no telling her that she did wrong, and you should be guilty. So nothing about those, okay? Because we also respect how each individual is coping. Okay. Now, for groups, the open space problem solving helped in their efforts to help community rebuilding, to show them that when you're starting to be okay, you can actually help others and you can help the community. So they were put in a big space, and then they were asked to tell their concerns one by one. And the participants were put in groups according to their issues and concerns. And they had brainstorming on what they can do now, okay? And if help is not there yet, what can we do so that we also help those people finding ways to help us, okay? And after which they put together all their responses, and as a big group, they realize that they are more than capable of helping, okay? That if they work together as a group, as a team, they will be able to help their community. And a community ritual, according to the study of Dr. Karanda, rituals or ceremonies also help in the process. So we would usually end by singing of a community song. Here in this particular activity, there were bowlers given to the participants containing words of hope, messages of gratitude, etc. And we ask them to give the ballers to those who were able to help them in the process. And so that is so empowering because when they believe that they're all victims and that they cannot do anything, but because they were made to know that, you know, you're able to help me in some ways. That was really very empowering for them. Okay. Now, another reality is that even if you provide PFA already, and even if you have done a series of interventions, there are still some people who would be needing specialized programs in terms of recovery. So this is the reason why the PAP came up now with the Katatagan Resilience Program. So this is a 6-module program which is already in place now. We have reached at least a manualization and training for other agencies and recipients. But what's the idea behind this? Okay, so this is a program after emergency. So after PFA have been provided, and if a need is seen for some people to go into the resilience program, then we put them in a program. Okay. So there are 5 basic considerations when we created the Katatagan program. So first is that people would benefit more if what is given or provided for them in terms of learning would be based on their own needs and strengths. So we make them see that the interventions are based on needs assessment, that the interventions are not designed generic for everybody, okay? But because we have run this in different groups, and we have seen how this would work well for more groups now, okay? And then we have also considered the adult learning principles, that people would learn best if they can see that there is something that's going to happen after this. They are able to know the consequences, okay, what the benefits that they're going to get out of the learning materials. Okay, and we also considered Filipino values of connection, collectivism, the collective nature of Filipinos. And the spiritual aspect was also considered. Now, another consideration in not just providing programs, but also training people to provide programs, is that there's a dearth of mental health professionals. There is one mental health professional, including psychiatrists, in every 100,000 Filipinos. And there is one psychologist in every 300,000 Filipinos. I think there are just 600 licensed psychologists and 600 plus psychologists in the Philippines. So because of this, we saw the need to empower community facilitators who can help us in cascading the interventions to the people in the community. And so the aggressive need to train people in the LGUs and municipalities. I'm happy that municipalities and LGUs are already realizing the need for this. So just a week ago, Quezon City DRRM office have sent their the draft of their MOU to the PAP. So there's a possible partnership going on there. And in Bicol, we're already partnering with one municipality, and the social work officer there is very aggressive, and she would call on deaf ed teachers to attend trainings in this. Okay? And the need for flexibility. So I said that there are 6 modules, but each module